Have you ever wondered what makes old age so miserable for those who didn't prepare? It's not the gray hair or the wrinkles or the slower pace. It's the absence of certain key things that bring meaning, connection, and joy to our later years. Too many people assume that misery in old age is inevitable, that loneliness, boredom, and regret just come with the territory. But that couldn't be further from the truth. What actually makes the difference? What separates a life of quiet, suffering from one of peace and dignity are 6 simple, but essential elements that most people don't even realize they're missing. In this video, we're going to walk through 6 things that every person needs in their 70s and beyond in order to feel whole, valued, and alive. These aren't luxuries. They're not complicated. But when they're missing, the days start to feel longer, the nights lonelier, and the spirit a little dimmer. On the surface, these may sound small, but underneath, they hold the power to transform how you move through this season of life. Stay with us because by the end of this video, you'll not only understand what's been missing, you'll know exactly how to start bringing it back. These 6 things aren't just nice to have. Without them, old age can feel hollow. But with them, something shifts. Joy returns, confidence grows, and you remember who you are, not just who you used to be. Let's get started. Number 1, the presence of a purposeful daily routine. Without a daily sense of purpose, the days begin to blur. You wake up, move through your usual motions, and by evening, you wonder where the time went. But it's not just about the clock, it's about the feeling. That quiet ache that something important is missing, even if you can't quite put your finger on it. And that's because purpose, even in its smallest form, is what gives structure to time and meaning to motion. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to feel like it matters. Let me tell you about Walter, a 76-year-old retired mechanic, who spent the first few years of retirement simply taking it easy. At first, it felt like freedom. No alarms, no schedules. But gradually, his energy dipped. His mood followed. His sleep became restless. What had felt like rest slowly turned into restlessness. When asked how he spent his days, he paused and couldn't quite answer. That silence told the story. The truth is, humans are wired for rhythm and purpose. And as we age, that need doesn't disappear. It becomes even more vital. The happiest older adults often aren't the ones with the most freedom, but the ones with the clearest focus. They tend to their garden every morning. They read 1 new chapter a day. They write letters, organize drawers, feed birds, call a friend. These rituals may seem ordinary, but they're anything but. They're lifelines, anchors. A purposeful routine creates a framework for the day. It helps you wake up with intention and go to bed with satisfaction. It gives your mind something to look forward to, your body something to move for, your heart something to stay open to. And even better, it creates opportunities for connection. People check in. You share progress. You teach. You listen. But when you remove structure, when days stretch without aim or anchor, loneliness creeps in. You begin to feel like you're drifting, not living. That's when sadness grows. Not from a single event, but from the slow erosion of meaning. So if you're feeling that dull emptiness, the kind that doesn't shout, but slowly settles in, ask yourself what your days are built around. Then choose one thing, just one, something to do each morning or evening, something to tend, track, or return to. That small thread can become a lifeline, not just to a better day, but to a better you. Number 2, the habit of maintaining physical vitality through small habits. Physical energy isn't just about staying fit. It's about staying engaged with life. And when your body starts to slow down, even slightly, everything else begins to feel heavier. Tasks that once felt easy now feel like burdens. Getting out of bed, making a meal, going to the store, it all takes just a little more effort. And when that effort isn't supported by small, consistent habits, people begin to retreat. Not out of laziness, but because their bodies don't feel like allies anymore. Take Harold, for example, an 81-year-old who'd always been strong and active. But after an unexpected illness, he stopped moving as much. Just for a few weeks, he told himself. But then weeks turned into months. His muscles weakened, his joints stiffened, and his confidence dwindled. Soon, even short walks felt intimidating. What Harold didn't know then is what doctors try so hard to emphasize now. Small physical habits done daily are often more powerful than occasional big efforts. You don't need a gym. You don't need heavy weights or hour-long sessions. What you need is movement that meets you where you are. 10 minutes of stretching in the morning, light resistance band work in the afternoon, standing leg lifts while brushing your teeth. These small things compound. They preserve strength, protect joints, and keep blood flowing. But most importantly, they remind you that your body is still capable. And that feeling that you're still capable is one of the strongest antidotes to misery in old age. When your body moves, your mind follows. Energy rises. Mood improves. You look forward to the day instead of dreading it. And even more, those small physical efforts give you a sense of pride. Not the kind that comes from comparison, but the quiet kind. The kind that says, I showed up for myself today. The challenge many seniors face isn't a lack of desire. It's a belief that if they can't do what they used to, it's not worth doing at all. But that's a dangerous myth. Because the truth is, what you do now doesn't need to look like what you did before. It just needs to keep you feeling strong, steady, and mobile. That's enough. That's more than enough. And when you choose to move your body even gently, you're not just maintaining your health, you're reclaiming your space in the world. You're saying, I still belong here. I still have places to go, things to reach for, and people to show up for. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, the presence of emotional connection with others. One of the quietest kinds of suffering in old age isn't physical, it's emotional. And it often begins with something as subtle as silence, a few missed calls, fewer invitations, a longer pause between visits. At first, it just feels like space, but slowly that space turns into isolation. And before long, a person begins to wonder if anyone still sees them at all. The truth is, emotional connection isn't just something we enjoy, it's something we need, especially as we grow older. Let me tell you about Ruth, a 78-year-old widow who had always been surrounded by friends in her younger years. But as time passed, some friends moved away, others passed on. Her children became busy with their own lives. And though she didn't like to complain, she began to feel a kind of ache that wasn't physical. It was deeper. A feeling that no one really knew her anymore. That her stories didn't have a place to land. That she was slowly disappearing. What Ruth was missing wasn't noise or activity. It was connection. The kind that comes from being truly heard. From laughing with someone who understands your past. From sitting in quiet with someone who simply cares that you're there. That kind of connection nourishes us. It reminds us that we matter, that we belong. Doctors now understand that emotional isolation is just as harmful as chronic illness. It raises stress levels, increases the risk of dementia, and even shortens lifespan. But beyond the science, there's something even more urgent. Loneliness steals joy. It turns the days gray. It makes everything feel a little heavier, a little harder. And worst of all, it convinces people that reaching out's a burden when, in reality, it's a lifeline. But connection doesn't always require a big family or a busy calendar. Sometimes it starts with one consistent relationship. A neighbor you check in with once a week. A group you meet with twice a month. A cousin you call every Sunday. It might mean joining a book club, a walking group, or even a virtual discussion. The goal isn't to be surrounded by people. It's to feel emotionally seen by even just one. And if that feels far away right now, start small. Smile at someone at the store. Send a note to a relative. Ask for help with a tech issue, not just because you need it, but because, connection lives in those small moments of shared effort. Because at the heart of it, we all want the same thing to be known, to be missed, to be cared about. When that disappears, misery creeps in, not because life has gotten worse, but because it's no longer shared. But when even one thread of connection is woven back in, something changes. Life becomes warmer, lighter, more worth waking up for. Number 4, the habit of mental stimulation and curiosity. When the body starts to slow down, one of the greatest gifts we still have is the mind. But too often that gift goes unwrapped. It sits quietly in the background while routines repeat, conversations shrink, and novelty fades. Without fresh mental stimulation, without the thrill of a new idea or the challenge of figuring something out, life begins to feel flat. Not painful necessarily, just dull. And over time, that dullness becomes a quiet form of misery. Let me tell you about Leonard, an 83-year-old retired accountant who once thrived on solving problems. After retiring, he felt relieved to finally have time for rest, but soon the days became repetitive. He watched the same shows, read the same newspaper columns, and went to bed feeling more tired than inspired. It wasn't until his granddaughter gifted him a set of crossword puzzles that something shifted. At first, he struggled to finish even the easy ones, but he stuck with it. And soon he was looking forward to them each morning. His memory sharpened. his mood lifted, and most importantly, his curiosity returned. Doctors often say use it or lose it, but what they really mean is this: your brain needs challenge the way your muscles need movement. It craves stimulation. And when that stimulation is missing, boredom creeps in, slowly, quietly, and often unnoticed. Boredom that lingers long enough begins to chip away at joy. But the opposite is also true. The moment your mind is reawakened, your world feels bigger again. Mental stimulation doesn't have to mean studying philosophy or learning a new language, though it can. It can also mean reading a new book genre, learning a new game, trying a new recipe, or even asking questions you've never asked before. It can be as simple as journaling your thoughts, solving puzzles, or learning how to use a new app. The point isn't perfection, it's participation. It's the willingness to keep engaging even when the world tries to tell you that you've had your turn. And here's something worth remembering. Mental stimulation leads to emotional resilience. When your brain is active, you're more adaptable. You're more optimistic. You're more capable of finding meaning in unexpected places. Curiosity becomes a light that helps you see what's still possible, not just what's already passed. Some people think aging means settling into routines that never change, but that's a recipe for quiet disconnection. Growth doesn't stop at 60 or 70 or 80, it just changes shape. The questions become different, the pace slows, but the hunger to learn, to explore, to feel mentally alive, it's still there. It always has been. And when you give that part of yourself a little attention each day, something powerful happens. You feel more awake, more alert, more interested in the world around you, and that spark, once lit, pushes back against the shadows that boredom and stagnation bring. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the presence of self-worth and dignity. There comes a point in life when the world stops looking at you the same way. Cashiers speak slower. Doctors speak over you. Family members make decisions without asking. And slowly, without anyone meaning to, you begin to feel small. Like your value has somehow expired. Like you're just an extra in the background of everyone else's busy lives. But here's the truth: growing older doesn't make you less important. Losing certain abilities doesn't make you less worthy. And needing help doesn't mean you've lost your dignity. What causes the real misery in old age is forgetting your worth. Or worse, being treated like it's gone. Let me tell you about Carol, a 77-year-old former nurse who had spent decades taking care of others. But after a fall left her relying on a walker, she noticed people started treating her differently. Conversations went around her, not to her. Strangers assumed she couldn't think for herself. Even family began speaking in a softer tone, as if she were fragile in every way. Carol didn't resent the help. What she missed was the respect, the sense that she was still capable of making her own choices. The loss of dignity, not the walker, is what wore her down. Doctors and researchers alike are beginning to understand how vital it is for older adults to feel seen, respected, and involved in their own lives. When people are spoken to with dignity, when they're given choices, asked for their opinions, and treated as equals, their health improves, their confidence rises, and most importantly, their spirit stays intact. But when that's missing, something begins to shut down, not just emotionally, but physically. Because there's nothing more exhausting than feeling like you don't matter. And it's not just about how others treat you, it's also about how you treat yourself. Are you still speaking kindly to yourself? Are you giving yourself credit for the wisdom, the endurance, and the experiences that shaped you? Do you look in the mirror and see someone who still deserves to be respected, even on the hard days? Self-worth doesn't come from achievements. It doesn't come from looking young or moving fast. It comes from remembering your story, from knowing that you've lived, loved, lost, learned, and kept going. That deserves honor. Every wrinkle has a reason. Every scar has a name. And every day you keep showing up is a quiet act of strength. So if the world has made you feel invisible, let this remind you your worth was never based on how fast you walked or how much you could carry. It was never about titles or appearances. It's about presence, about who you are. And who you are right now, as you are, is still needed, still valuable, and still deeply worthy of dignity. Number 6, the feeling of being needed by someone or something. There's a kind of quiet emptiness that settles in when you no longer feel needed. It's not the same as loneliness. It's something deeper, something that speaks to your sense of purpose. When no one calls for your advice, when your presence feels optional instead of essential, when you can disappear for a few days and no one notices, that's when the real weight of old age can set in. Because deep down, every one of us wants to matter to someone. We want to know that our life still adds something to someone else's. Let me tell you about Frank, an 84-year-old man who had raised a family, built a business, and been a rock to his community. But in his later years, after his wife passed and his kids moved far away, something shifted. They still loved him, of course. They called sometimes. But the day-to-day interactions were gone. The favors, the little questions, the "can you help me with this?" moments. And without those, Frank began to feel like he had slowly become invisible, like the world was fine without him. But then, a neighbor's child started coming by after school just to chat. Frank would share stories, listen to her ideas, and encourage her drawings. It was small, 15 minutes a few times a week, but it changed everything. He had something to prepare for, someone to look forward to, someone who needed him, not for what he used to be, but for who he still was. Doctors have found that feeling useful, even in the smallest ways, can lower depression, reduce cognitive decline, and even extend life expectancy. But beyond the studies, there's something even more profound. Being needed brings back hope. It gives you a reason to show up. It pulls you out of yourself and back into the world. And being needed doesn't always come from family. Sometimes it's the dog that waits for your walk, the friend who counts on your phone call, the volunteer group that misses you when you skip a meeting, the neighbor who lights up when you wave from the porch. What matters is not how many people need you, but that at least one does. And if you're sitting there thinking, "No one needs me anymore," let me challenge that. There is always someone who could benefit from your presence, your wisdom, your kindness. Someone younger, someone lonely, someone struggling. Even reaching out to offer encouragement to someone else can start the cycle again. When you feel needed, you begin to see your life through a different lens. You stand a little taller, you care a little more, and you feel once again like you belong. Because the truth is, we never outgrow the need to be needed. And when that need is met, even in a quiet, humble way, it makes life sweeter, fuller, and infinitely more worth living. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Final thoughts. If you've made it this far, I want you to pause and reflect, not just on what you've heard, but on what you've felt. Maybe something stirred. Maybe one of these 6 things felt a little too familiar. Or maybe you realize that what's been missing in your life isn't as complicated as you thought. Because the truth is, old age itself isn't miserable. What makes it feel that way is the absence of the things that make us feel alive. Let's look back. A purposeful routine to guide your day, physical habits that give you energy, emotional connection that reminds you you're not alone, mental stimulation that keeps your mind sharp, self-worth that upholds your dignity, and the feeling of being needed by someone or something. None of these require perfect health, a full calendar, or youthful strength. They simply require intention and the willingness to reach toward what your spirit already knows you need. These 6 elements are like quiet companions. They don't shout, they don't demand, but when they're present, life feels richer. And when they're gone, you feel it in your bones, even if you don't have words for it. So I want to leave you with this. It's not too late. Whether you're 60 or 90, today can be the day you begin to rebuild what's been missing. One small action, one new habit, one phone call, one decision to honor your own worth, even if no one else notices just yet. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.